On the fourth day, Ethan noticed something strange. The bold hatchling, the one always first to explore, struggled upright, trembling, and stretched its small body. That's when he saw them. Wings, thin, almost transparent, folded so tightly against its scales he hadn't noticed before. They shimmered faintly in the heater's glow as a hatchling flapped once, twice, before stumbling and collapsing back into the nest. It let out a frustrated hum, sharp enough to rattle the walls. The others stirred in response, their tones rising together like a choir. Ethan stayed, breath caught. These weren't reptiles, not insects, not anything the outpost records could explain. They were something far more. Dragons. The thought was ridiculous, and yet there it was. Pale, alien dragons, fragile now but destined for something greater. The way their silver eyes locked on him, the way their hum seemed almost deliberate, it was as if they recognized him, as if, in their tiny minds, he wasn't just a stranger who stumbled upon their nest. He was their guardian. The storm still raged outside, but inside the hollow, something else was growing. Strength, trust, and a bond Ethan hadn't thought possible. By the sixth day, the storm had revealed its other danger. Ethan was out scavenging again, body weak from hunger, when his scanner pinged movement. For a moment, his heart leapt. Could it be their mother? The thought of returning the hatchlings to their parent filled him with desperate hope. But what emerged from the snow was no savior. It slithered across the ice like a living nightmare, armored ridges glinting black, a serpent's body crowned with a wolf-like head, its jaws unhinged wide enough to swallow him whole, teeth shining like shards of obsidian. Red eyes glowed faintly through the snow, locking onto him. Ethan froze, blood running cold. The creature wasn't just wandering. It was following something, the hatchling's hum. Panic stabbed through him. Behind him, buried beneath the fragile shelter, 5 tiny lives waited. He had no weapon fit for this. Only a plasma cutter, meant for mining, and a flare gun. Tools, not weapons. The beast hissed, breath thrusting the air. It lunged, snow exploding around it. Ethan fired the flare straight into its gaping maw. The flash blinded it for a heartbeat, but only a heartbeat. The real fight had begun. The flare's burst lit the storm like lightning, but the predator barely staggered. With a roar that shook the ground, it swung its massive head, hurling Ethan across the ice. His ribs cracked against frozen stone, pain lancing through his chest. Gasping, half-blind, he scrambled to his feet. Behind him, the shelter hid 5 helpless hatchlings. He couldn't let the beast reach them. Activating his plasma cutter, he charged. Sparks hissed as he slashed across the creature's flank, burning deep into alien flesh. Black blood spilled, steaming against the snow. The monster reeled but did not fall. It lunged again, teeth snapping inches from his face. Ethan braced for the end, until he heard it, a piercing hum. The bold hatchling crawled out of the nest, wings flaring wide. Its hum cut sharp through the storm. One by one, the others joined, their tones weaving together into a chorus that vibrated the air itself. The sound rattled the predator, staggering its movements. Seizing the moment, Ethan drove the plasma cutter into its glowing eye. The creature shrieked, convulsed, and collapsed into the snow, steam rising from its wounds. Silence returned. Ethan, broken and bleeding, looked at the hatchlings. They had fought with him. The predator's body steamed in the snow, its lifeblood seeping into the ice. Ethan collapsed to his knees, clutching his side. Every breath was agony. Hunger gnawed at him. His vision swam, and the storm still raged above. He knew the truth. His body was failing. He staggered back into the shelter, where the hatchlings huddled close. Their silver eyes shone brighter now, their hum soft and steady. They weren't helpless anymore. They had fought beside him. Survivors, like him. And yet, a brutal thought cut through his haze. He could leave. If he abandoned them now, he might still limp back to the outpost, find rescue, save himself. The hatchlings were alien, unknown. Their survival wasn't his responsibility. Every logical reason screamed at him to walk away. But then, the smallest one, the frail hatchling whose hum was barely audible, dragged itself across the nest. It pressed against his trembling hand, eyes reflecting his own brokenness. Its hum was faint, but steady. Ethan's throat tightened. He couldn't. He wouldn't. If death came, it would come with him still shielding them. His choice was final. Ethan Krelll, scavenger, loner, nobody, was now their guardian, even if it killed him. That on the 10th day, the storm finally broke. The cloud cracked open, and pale sunlight spilled across the frozen ridges, painting the ice in shades of gold. Ethan could barely stand. His body was frail from hunger. His ribs ached. His breath came shallow. But when he stepped outside the shelter, the hatchlings followed, no longer trembling. Their eyes glowed with a strange brilliance, their wings unfolding with tentative strength. He watched as the bold one tested the wind, lifting for a heartbeat before tumbling back into the snow. The others hummed in encouragement, their tones rising like a promise. Ethan smiled weakly, pride warming him more than the sun. Somewhere, someday, these creatures would soar. And if anyone asked, the galaxy would remember that they had lived because one starving, shivering human had chosen not to abandon them. Ethan Krelll hadn't just survived the storm. He had become a legend. Clapperboard. And that's the story of Ethan Krelll, the scavenger who defied the storm and saved the albino hatchlings. What began as desperation in the cold became a tale that echoed across the stars. If you enjoyed this HFY sci-fi story, hit like, subscribe, and share it with someone who loves discovering the legendary resilience of humanity. Because sometimes one human choice can change a galaxy. But not everyone celebrated this new identity. While much of the world basked in fame and prosperity, others worried. Some military leaders whispered that humanity was being reduced, portrayed as harmless, soft-handed diplomats whose only role was to soothe others. What if an empire decided to exploit this? What if petting became a leash instead of a weapon? In cafes and parliament halls, a quiet resentment stirred. Was humanity becoming the galaxy's mascot? The great pets, as some aliens called them, adored but underestimated? A few argued Earth needed to show strength through ships, soldiers, and weapons, not strokes of the hand. Others feared the petting gift itself was a vulnerability. If humans were seen only as mediators who would protect them when mediation failed. And yet, every time doubts grew too loud, the result silenced them. Entire wars ended when human volunteers walked into battlefields and calmed both sides with simple touch. Civilizations that had known nothing but bloodshed now looked to Earth for peacekeepers. Still, the unease never fully faded. Humanity had a gift unlike any other, but what if one day they found a species that could not, or would not, be petted? The test arrived sooner than anyone imagined. From the far edge of the galaxy came a name spoken only in fear, the Krelll Dominion. They were nightmares given form, towering, spine creatures with triple jaws and voices like grinding stone. For centuries, they had enslaved worlds, harvested planets, and burned entire systems into silence. When their fleet appeared above Earth, skies turned black with their warships. Beijing, Cairo, Sao Paulo, and San Francisco vanished under shadows the size of continents. The world's defenses scrambled, but few believed resistance was possible. Then came the message. Overlord Krell's voice crackled across every frequency. Humans, you think your strange touch gives you power? We are immune to such weakness. Kneel, and Earth will be spared. Resist, and you will be erased. For the first time since humanity's gift had gone galactic, doubt hardened into terror. Could the petting effect fail? Could there truly be a species immune to it? Governments debated surrender. Armies prepared hopeless defenses. And somewhere in the chaos, a handful of scientists and diplomats proposed something outrageous. If the Krell claimed they could not be petted, then humanity would try anyway. The plan was almost absurd. A delegation of volunteers would board the Krell flagship and attempt something no one dared to imagine, petting the unpettable. Most dismissed it as suicide. Krell was more fortress than flesh. His obsidian armor bristled with spikes, his jaws could shear tanks in half, and his guards shredded entire battalions without effort. Yet the mission was approved. Earth had no better option. Among the volunteers was a young teacher from Madrid, Marisol Alvarez. She wasn't a soldier, nor a diplomat, but her touch had proven exceptional. Animals, aliens, even the most hostile species calmed under her hand. The Ziri themselves had called her gift extraordinary. So when the Krell demanded humanity's surrender, it was Marisol who stepped forward. Not with weapons, not with armor, but in simple clothes and steady resolve. Billions watched as she entered the living corridors of Krell's flagship. Biometal walls pulsed with veins of molten light. Krelll guards hissed and scraped their claws, letting her pass only to mock her fragility. And at the far end, looming like a mountain of black steel, Overlord Krayth waited, his 6 eyes burning, his triple jaws curling in cruel amusement. "So this," he growled, "is your champion." The chamber fell silent as Marisol stepped forward. Cameras across Earth broadcast her every move, billions holding their breath. Krayth loomed above her, a fortress of spikes and hatred. His laughter rumbled like avalanches. This fragile mammal with trembling hands? Pathetic. Marisol didn't answer. She remembered her childhood, stroking the scales of a desert lizard named Pepe, calming stray dogs that followed her home, winning trust with patience instead of force. She let those memories guide her now. She raised her hand. The Krell guards tensed. Weapons crackled. Krayth's triple jaws flexed, ready to snap her in two. For a moment, it seemed hopeless. Then her palm touched the jagged surface of his armor. At first, nothing. Krayth's body was cold, rigid, unyielding. But Marisol didn't flinch. She traced the ridges of his carapace, brushed along the spines of his shoulder. Her touch was steady, calm, human. And then, something shifted. The grinding growl in his chest softened. The spines lowered. His 6 eyes half-closed. The terrible warlord, destroyer of civilizations, let out a sound that froze the galaxy in disbelief. Krayth was purring. Billions erupted into tears, laughter, and awe. The unpettable had been petted. The galaxy would remember that moment forever. Krayth, the terror of systems, bowed his colossal head to a single human hand. His guards froze, unable to process what they were witnessing. And on Earth, billions wept as history rewrote itself in real time. The war ended before it began. Krayth withdrew his fleets, not in defeat, but in something stranger, peace. He signed treaties of eternal cooperation. Soon, Krell diplomats, creatures once feared as monsters, were lining up at Earth's petting centers, waiting patiently like nervous children for a human's touch. Humanity's reputation soared. They were no longer seen as fragile primates clinging to a blue planet. They were seen as the galaxy's great mediators, the bridge between the untamable and the civilized. It wasn't ships or weapons that saved them. It was something far simpler. Hands, hearts, and the courage to reach out instead of strike. And in the centuries to come, one truth echoed across every star system. Humans weren't just survivors. They were the species that could calm the universe itself. Clap aboard, Oitao, almost equals 100 words. And that's a story of how humans stunned the galaxy by petting the unpettable. What do you think? Could something as simple as touch really be our greatest superpower? If you enjoyed this journey, don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps more people discover these HFY stories. Subscribe if you want more cinematic sci-fi tales every week, and share this with a friend who still thinks humans are ordinary. Because out there in the stars, ordinary is the last thing we are.